Hey friends, it's me, Mandy Colt. Welcome to my first YouTube Live and to the channel. I want to start off by saying that anything that I'm going to share is always for you to discern if it's in alignment with you or not. If there are things that don't resonate, feel free to leave them right here. You do not have to take everything I say as your truth. We are all on our own journeys when it comes to spiritual awakening, to understanding our lives, to navigating our life. So please remember that your discernment is always most important. I wanted to jump on today, not just to do a few mini readings, which I will do later on, but also to share some information about what has been going on energetically, specifically the past couple of weeks. I'd say I've spoken to quite a few people who have been exhausted, fatigued, absent-minded. If this is you too, feel free to drop a line in the chat. I'd love to know if others are feeling this as well. And when I've been sitting with spirit about this, I had to wade through quite a bit of emotion first. There's been a tendency to lean into old stories, have overwhelming emotions coming up, and specifically be challenged um, to find my way through what was, what is, and what will be, and being very cognizant of not taking what was, placing it in the current moment, and then projecting it into the future in a belief that things are going to repeat and repeat and repeat, especially challenging situations that have been happening in the past. If you've been finding a lot of motion coming up as well, I'd love to know. I'm always curious to see if there are what just happened? Hang on a second. Back. There we go. Sorry, the channel popped up. I'm just trying to keep my eye on the chat. Like I said, this is the first time that I've done this before, so it would be great if somebody could pop something into the chat so I can see if it is working. And like I said, welcome to those of you who are joining. I am going to be doing readings as well, but I want to talk about what has been happening with this tiredness so far. So what Spirit has shown me is that we are not able to stuff down unwanted emotion anymore. It's getting more and more difficult to, thanks, Sandra. It's getting more and more difficult to sidestep um, our own triggers, the way that we are experiencing things in our life, and the way that we try to kind of shift stories around to make it not our fault or not important to us, or I don't like it, I'm going to delete it, or I'm just going to think positive and everything's going to be fine. And we're not able to do this anymore and move through to the next level that we want to get to, which is ultimately peace and ease and trust and less fear and less worry and less anxiety. But all of these things start building as we try to like find our way through things that aren't feeling very good to us, oftentimes by trying to distract ourselves or numb ourselves out or get angry. And anxiety is really a big one too, guys. You know that that anxiety has spiked ever since well, over the past few years, that there has been more and more anxiety coming. And anxiety is kind of what I was talking about at the beginning. It's when we take our past stories of things that have happened and what the result was and how challenging it was, we shift it into the current moment as a reality now, and then we start pushing it out and projecting it onto events right now so that when they play out in the future, we're like, see, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that bad thing was going to happen. And it just drags all this anxiety from the past forward into the future. We are being challenged right now to not just only believe that we can feel good things and everything's going to be good and we're going to arrive at a place where all of our feelings will be positive and happy, but to have all of the emotions at once. We're being called to stand in the middle of the whole experience. And at any given time in your life, there are always positive and negative things going on. Your purview or your perspective in that moment just usually has to do with your emotions. If you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, tired, overworked, unsatisfied, unhappy, haven't achieved what you want anymore, you're usually leaning into noticing the things that are difficult in your life right now or perceived as negative. But if you're happy, it's a sunshiny day, you had a great conversation, you ate some delicious food, you feel very grounded, centered, happy, you focus on the positive. Now is the time where we need to accept that all of those things are part of a whole. And to neutralize ourselves in the center of it, where there's positive and there's negative, is extremely exhausting. So part of the fatigue that has been happening lately has been this push into the center of all emotions all at once, which can literally make you feel like you're going crazy sometimes. And then trying to sift through, do I want to focus on positive or negative? I feel good. No, I feel sad. No, I feel happy. No, I feel exhausted. I'm anxious. Oh, I'm totally fine. If you're having these push and pull emotions all the time as you're energetically trying to find your center, it wears you down. It is normal to feel tired right now. And I'm really going to challenge you guys to go to bed earlier, allow yourself naps if you need them and you have space for that, and really sit in, like, notice, take pause, and notice some of the emotions that are coming up in fullness. Turn the volume up on the ones that are kind of quiet down here, and turn the volume down on the ones that are too high so that it comes to an equal level. And see how you feel when you stand in the middle. Because ultimately, you in the middle is your true authentic self. Okay, our emotions are only a guidance system. And right now, we are being guided to find our neutrality inside of our own lives so that we can stand in that observer position, so that we can have the experiences that we came here to have, so that we can feel settled and full and have more that we can give outward to our family, to our passions, to our work, even to your life calling. But that comes more easily when we're standing in that grounded, centered space. In a very simple term, we are being called to become authentic to who we really are at the core of our being. And authenticity is something that isn't just, your immediate reaction to something. Authenticity is actually who you really are after the reaction. So when you find yourself in a balanced state, you're not as reactive and you can be the person you want to show up as. When you have those emotions out of balance, either too much positive or too much negative, it's not only the negative times that you're reactive, we're also reactive when we're in a very positive space, almost like think toxic positivity. Right? When we're there too, we're reactive. And sometimes we show up differently than we want to as well. But when you come into that balanced space and you see all of everything for what it is, and you're not labeling it as positive or negative because it's an experience, you're going to feel more grounded. You're not going to have as much anxiety. You might still be a little bit tired as your energy is shifting into alignment with more of your authentic being, but you will have this space, almost like a buffer to everything that's coming forward in your life. I often compare this to, like, when you're worried about something, you're leaning very far forward into the future. You got your hands on the wheel, you're leaning in, you're looking, you're scanning for everything, you're seeing if there's any danger. And when you're happy, or when you're like, everything's fine, I'm great, like everything's working out, I'm going to be fine, you're either waiting for the other shoe to drop and ignoring that belief, or you're kind of sitting back and just being like, I'm totally fine, and you kind of become apathetic. But when you're in the center, when you're grounded, when you're seeing everything for what it is, you're just present, and life is kind of flowing through you at an even pace that isn't overwhelming, and you're able to stay kind of in the moment and be creative in the moment and receive information in the moment. Your intuition usually starts to kind of elevate and open as you stand more into the moment. It's a lot of work, guys. This becoming more authentic to who we are is still a practice. It's part of becoming who we want to be here. And ultimately, again, we just want to be calm. We want to serve. Hey guys, I see a lot of you guys coming in. Terry, emotions and feelings are just that we can be guided by them, but they are not our whole self. I try to recognize them as I'm moving through them. Yes. And oftentimes it really is like you'll hear a lot of people talk about being the observer of your life or the power of now. But oftentimes I literally feel like I am in a ball of light in the center. And this is all just one big um, it's just one big experience, all of it together. So the meshing of all the emotions all at once can seem challenging because oftentimes we're living in a yes or a no, a right or a wrong, a black or a right, should be that way, shouldn't be this way. But ultimately, there's space for everything, even if we don't like it. And when you come to that neutral space of allowing space for everything, including the parts of yourself that you don't like, that you're ashamed of, that you're embarrassed about, trauma that you hold as well is part of this bubble that has brought you into this life experience. And when we allow it to come into our awareness, into our consciousness, we're actually opening our consciousness up wider, which is what allows you to start tapping into your intuition, to start working with your guides, to start chatting with your loved ones who are in spirit, to receive information from your higher self so that you are intuitively knowing which step feels right as you're moving forward into your life without the fear of what has happened in the past or what you're trying to figure out right now for something in the future, which is usually coming from your mind instead of your soul. You just become this more balanced being. So those of you who are already practicing this, be very patient with yourself, be kind to yourself. It does take becoming authentic takes time, especially if you've spent a lifetime being reactive and categorizing right, wrong, black, white, not like this, like this. This is what I believe. This is what I don't believe. All of that needs to soften. That needs to soften into you just being you and knowing that ultimately that's all you ever need to aim for to find what you are looking for, whether it be a change of jobs or a new partner or just feeling better or abundance or peace or you name it, whatever you're looking for is inside of your authentic desires. But until you soften the categorization of everything that's happening all the time and what you feel you should or shouldn't be doing, or you don't get to a place where you're noticing the way I was just sharing with a friend, I started noticing the way that I even correct myself in my own brain all the time. That all needs to come forward and be experienced all at once and be allowed to be there as I stand in the middle of it instead of being pulled back and forth by it. Um, I'm always, like I said, I'm always interested to hear if others have been feeling, if you've been finding too that you've been feeling very stretched. I know that there are a lot of celestial events happening right now. There was just the spring or autumn equinox, depending on where you are. There is also the super new moon, which those two things alone are like huge new beginnings. And then we led into there was something to do with Pluto. I can't remember if somebody knows. Please feel free to put it in the comment. But there's something that hasn't happened in like 400 years, and it's also supposed to be accelerating what's going on top of solar flares, which I've seen a lot of pictures of northern lights coming up on Facebook and Instagram. So there's a lot going on, guys, and there's many layers. But ultimately, I'm here to remind you that your goal and your purpose here is just to discover who you are, to continually become a more authentic version of yourself. And that authentic version of you is going to include the things that you deem negative or not right or not okay or not fair or any trauma that you're carrying as well. And I'm saying trauma with a big and a little T. All of that belongs to part of your experience, and none of it needs to be labeled right or wrong. So I did actually reach out to my Facebook community and ask them if they wanted to join me today for some mini readings. If you have any questions about spirituality, or if you have any questions about what I've been talking about, you can feel free to put that into the chat as well. Sandra, I'm going to start with you for a reading, and I am going to use some cards today. Unless you have specific questions, you can comment in the chat, and I'll lean into the energy of that. But Sandra, I'm going to use the Quantum Oracle deck for you, and oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for the chat. I appreciate it. Sandra. Oh, here's the camera. So, Sandra, the card that came up for you is the Sacred Temple. And this is really tied into kind of what I have been chatting about. There is some lights coming on inside of your own temple right now. You're starting to notice parts of yourself that weren't there before. And I also feel quite an elevation in your intuitive gifts, specifically a lot happening in the heart space. I don't know if you've been working a lot with your heart chakra, or like resting down into your heart and practicing coming out of your mind and resting into your heart. You can expect that there are going to be some, it feels like there's going to be some new guides coming forward to you, and you're going to experience them through your heart space. So when you are in your meditation or your quiet time, you're really being called to kind of experience through here. So imagine your eyes, your senses, your ears, your minds kind of coming right through your heart space. And this is where it feels like there's about two guides who are going to come to meet you here. There's a great softening here. I feel a lot of healer energy also coming through. I'm not sure if you're working with any kind of healing modalities, but you can expect those to also be strengthened. There's something about you doing distance healing as well. Spirit wants you to know that that is making an impact to the group or the person that you're sending it to, that it is helping to untie some of the energetic filaments that have been pulling on on the challenges that have been being faced. So you're making a difference by lending your light that way, and your light really is starting to overflow in a way that you're going to have more and more to give without feeling flattened. I hope that that resonates with you, Sandra. I see Terry here and Andrea. If anybody else has joined live who had asked for a reading in the Facebook group, please put your name in the comment or put your favorite emoji in the comment, and I will do a reading. Hi, Jan. Okay, I'm going to make sure I get you there too. So, Jan and Andrea and Terry. Okay. Jan, I'm going to use the same deck for you as well. Again, if you don't have any, oh, I'm glad that resonated, Sandra. If you don't have any specific questions, I'm just going to pull from the deck here. And thanks again to those of you who have liked and subscribed as well. I do find that learning a new platform can be exciting online. Okay, Jan, great gratitude. So I'm really drawn to the birds actually in this picture. So the birds to me actually have a lot to do with freedom. So it feels to me that you've come through a complete circle in an emotional process. So something that you have been trying to, it almost feels like you've really been suffering through this for several years. An emotional burden, it feels like it did have an energetic impact. I do feel quite a bit actually up in my left side, maybe tightness in your chest, potentially I don't know if I would say heart issues, but it does feel like your stress kind of was manifesting inside of part of your body in a tightening way. And it does feel like there has been a completion here that you've come to peace with, similar to what I was talking about with kind of coming into balance in the positive and the negative of the emotions. Spirit wants you to know that there are still a few little strands that are being pulled out, but you're so close to being on the other side of this emotional pain. Um, it also feels like you have some loved ones in spirit. Feels like a female, potentially, um, potentially mom, grandma kind of coming forward and helping you release some of that too. They're telling me to tell you that birds are important. I don't know if that resonates with you or not. Specifically, it looks like they're showing me like a little sparrow that kind of seems to hang out a lot around you, or it's a small brown bird. Maybe it isn't a sparrow. I'm not so good with my sparrow with my bird terminology, but there are signs coming to you, and they want you to take that pause that I was talking about. Take the pause in the moment when you're noticing the birds, and just kind of put your energetic feelers out and be like, who's there? Is somebody here? Or put your feelers out and just say thank you for the message. I know that you're here. I know that you're supporting me. This is going to get you through the last little leg that you're on right now. Spirit also wants me to remind you that when we are kind of completing an emotional journey, specifically when we are overcoming or healing something within ourselves, that the last little bit is can be similar to the birth canal. There's going to be a squeeze, and it can feel a little more like the pain can feel a little more acute just at the end. So please remember to pay attention to the little birdies that are coming around you a lot. Remind yourself and make the habit and practice of just pausing for a minute as you're being squeezed out through the birth canal here. Um, Shannon, yes, I can go live. I know, interesting, eh? I didn't know that that was a thing either for a while. Jan, I hope that that resonated with you. Okay, Terry, I'm going to do you next, and then Shannon, I'm going to do you. Terry, I want to use the Earth Magic cards for you. These guys here. I'm always open to hearing about new decks too. So those of you that use cards, feel free to. Oh, good. I'm glad you figured out how to access the chat. Indigo roses. That's cool. Yes, I'm always open to hearing about new decks. I've been trying to see if I can find actually like kind of local artists here on the west coast of Canada. Or when I travel, I try to find local decks as well. It's pretty cool how the energy is there. Okay, Terry. Ooh, I like this one. There is a lot of vibe coming in with those of you who are joining. Like, I feel like, Terry, this is definitely for you, but this is also tying into to almost everybody who is here and anybody who is listening in the future as well. Synergy is something that is basically a manifestation of our manifestations. Okay. So when we have synergy in our life, it means that everything's just working out. We're totally in the flow. You're very much in that observer mode. So you've kind of found your balance inside of your life. You're not leaning too far into the future. You're not leaning too far back into the past. You're not judging what's going on. You've kind of found that calm Zen space where you're just allowing things to progress in trust, that you're being in the moment and making decisions as you're moving forward. Your vision is still there, Terry, okay? So they want you to continue to hang on to your vision, to know that that is still pulling you forward, but there's a huge amount of like, way to go, and clapping and so proud of you coming from your non-physical helpers, about the way that you have worked yourself into this space to allow stuff to continue flowing forward. Um, Sorry, I'm just kind of going to lean into this a little more. They're telling me that you've specifically been calling on one of your guides, or trying to call one of your guides forward. If you haven't been able to connect to them yet, because they are quite close to you. I usually don't feel guides like right in the front, but it feels like they're right in the very front of you. That it's just going to be about kind of letting go of how you used to connect to your spirit guides. Okay. So there's a way that you used to do things, or a way that you used to sense things, or a way that you used to receive information that's kind of shifting into a totally different way. It's kind of like when we're tuning a radio station, when we start kind of evolving our consciousness and working with spirit and settling into our emotion and becoming more calm in our life. the station changes a little bit. It's kind of fine tuned. So open yourself up to receiving in a different way. It feels like there's a big calling into receiving through the heart space as well. So coming out of third eye area, or focusing on third eye area and upper, and focusing more down here into heart space when you're in your quiet time and you're trying to connect. It also feels like there is one main guide who has been trying to answer your call, and it's he's there. So keep working with that. You're going to, and I also see you kind of like getting images. So it might work if you, I don't know if you draw, but if you draw, you're going to be able to kind of get a little bit more of a visual for yourself that will pull that forward too. Okay. Jan, I'm so glad that made sense. Shannon, you're next. I'm going to do earth magic for you too, Shannon. Welcome everybody who is joining. And yeah, the overwhelming feelings. Seriously, Sandra, it's interesting times. And for those of us who are already working with emotional body, with spiritual energy, with our beliefs, with even people who are working with things like the power of now or the law of attraction, we're more sensitive to what's going on because we started this path of awareness. We're seeking, we're trying to find the answers, we're trying to understand ourselves, we're trying to understand why we're here and what we're doing and what our purpose is, and how to be a good human and how to show up in service. So when the acceleration that's happened over the past few years has kind of pushed all of humanity into this space of not being able to navigate emotional energy the same way they used to. And when you're already sensitive and open to what's going on, it can be extra overwhelming because it's overlaying what you're going through personally. And my greatest advice, friends, my greatest advice, and again, you can take this if it resonates, and if it doesn't, just leave it right here. But you need to pull back on what you're consuming. How often are you scrolling? How often are you on social media? And I have to catch myself with this as well. We have everything we need inside of us. And when we're going to show up in a social space virtually, ideally it is to give. Okay, so there's definitely things that you can receive as well. If you are receiving information through social media, like, be fierce with your boundaries about what you're cultivating for yourself, what you're taking in, and be very strict with yourself about your spiritual hygiene as well. Start your day with intentions, end your day with gratitude and releasing what doesn't serve you, and make sure that you have some kind of practice that is keeping you in your own center. There is so much going on right now in the world. If you're still watching news and you're finding yourself anxious or overwhelmed, like, stop watching it. If something important is going to happen, you will find out. It will show up. Okay. But you don't have to go, if you're a seeker or if you're an empath, especially, or if you're going through a huge emotional shift right now, be protective of that space for yourself because you're tender and you're vulnerable and you're learning. Be gentle with yourself. Allow yourself that little bit of hermiting and bubble. Okay, Shannon, sorry. Sidetrack. Shannon. Okay, Shannon. What do they want you to know today? Ooh. Oh my goodness, same card. Like I said, stuff is lining up. There is I'm actually more drawn to the flowers here. In your case, in Terry's case, I was more drawn to the green, to the heart energy. But Shannon, it does feel like things are blooming, like you're seeing the results of some of your efforts that you've been putting out there. And they want to remind you not to kind of live in that space of like feeling like you need to be hustling forward and continuously like grabbing at what's next and grabbing at what's next and make sure you're planning for what's next. It feels like you might be the sort of person who plans maybe like 25 steps ahead of everything just to make sure that you're prepared. They want you to kind of lean back and make sure that you're smelling these flowers, that you're enjoying the moment, that you're taking that pause and being like, I did this. Look at how far I've come. and look at all the changes. Like, remember where I was like 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 6 months ago, 1 month ago, and look at where I am now. So if you're doing any kind of like projecting, try not to do it into the future that isn't here yet, because there's still lots and lots coming. But use that projection to kind of go back and recognize what you have cultivated and what is now coming into fruition for you, and honor that as what you have done inside of yourself, based on the work, based on the trust, based on the allowing, based on the recognizing that, sometimes things are going to be easy and sometimes things are going to be challenging, and sometimes you're going to feel like you're in control and sometimes you're going to feel like you have no control. But recognizing that, you finding the balance inside of that normal life swing, I'm going to call it, is what's bringing some of these blossoms to you. Take the time to enjoy them. It does feel like there's been I don't know if there's been a financial shift for you in a good way, but it does feel like you've just kind of set down the weight. I don't know if you paid off something, or it feels like you've kind of set down something that you were carrying as a financial worry or a financial burden for quite some time, and they really want you to revel in that fully without kind of planning ahead to make sure you don't lose it or get there again, or take something similar on. um, a lot of pride coming from the spirit dimensions for you as well. So way to go. Oh, Indigo Roses, Terry K. Okay, which Terry did I read? Oh, Terry O I read before. Okay, now we're on Terry K. Terry K. But first I need to do Andrea Van Bakel. Andrea, we're gonna do you're welcome, Shannon. I hope that resonated. Andrea Van Bakel, Quantum Oracle, and then Terry K. So if anybody else has joined, who had commented on the Facebook post that they wanted a mini reading, please write in the chat so that I can make sure that you're next. If anybody's joined who would like a little mini reading, I just need you to comment in the chat to let me know. Okay, Andrea. Ooh. Hmm. Andrea, I would say that this is you and your husband, but that's just where my brain wants to go. This feels more like you're starting to find connection with others. So there is some friendships kind of coming that are deepening, and there's also some that are flowing out. So um for you to really find kind of a soul connection with people, and this is again, they're telling me this is for all of us. To find soul connections with people, we have to be allowing of the ebb and flow of relationships. And oftentimes when we are recognizing that something isn't quite working anymore, um, we start to find a way to create a story around why it isn't working, so that we can push it out and cut it off, and that wasn't right. So there's people who are trying to come into your life, Andrea, but there's also kind of a hesitancy with you to let some of these relationships that you've had kind of naturally flow or end or ease out of your life. Things don't have to be like a sudden, it doesn't have to be like a breakup. It doesn't have to be like I'm not talking to you anymore. It's just a natural way that your energy starts kind of shifting away from people, and sometimes you come back together with others and sometimes you don't. But there is some relationships that are trying to come in that are going to fill what you're looking for. To It almost feels like mentorship style things that you're going to learn through these new relationships, that can only come through when you kind of pull your energy from some of the things that aren't really working anymore. Like, there's nothing big happening with the friendships that are not resonating. Like, nothing bad has happened. There's no big reason that you'd ever be able to explain to the person why you wouldn't want to talk to them anymore, or why you don't want to be around them anymore. But spirit's really calling you to honor your energy and to honor your feelings around this, and just to gently kind of pull away, you know and oftentimes it just means that, replying but not engaging is one way, and kind of shift yourself into that space so that you're open for the next the next community that's trying to come in for you. Because it just really feels like a lot of your attention is being drawn to your frustration about how you're feeling in this relationship over here. So you can expect, like there's new relationships waiting for you, new friendships waiting for you that are going to make you feel excited and make you feel like you have a new layer of things to talk about per se. I hope that that resonates. Okay, yeah, it does feel like there's specifically, it feels like a group, but it feels like once you start with the one that is the most difficult for you right now, or the one that's annoying you the most, and the annoyance is coming from your recognizing that the time has passed, the chapter has closed, the journey has ended with this person, and there's lots that you learned from them, and you're grateful for the journey you had, but the annoyance is coming because you're starting to create story around it. You're starting to find a way to blow it up. You don't have to do that. You just have to bless and release. Like in your own heart, like, I'm so grateful for the things I learned from this person, but reply, don't engage kind of thing. And gently start moving away. And you'll find that it's easier with the others as well. Okay. Andrea, I did this one. Okay, now Terry K. Terry K. Ooh, let's do Earth Magic for you. Okay. I'm glad that resonated. Thank you for that confirmation. Okay, Terry. Oh, ooh, I like it. I feel like, Terry, has this card come up for you before? Mm. This feels like a huge, like, hyperspace leap into your creativity. Like, they're showing me, they're showing me either your higher self, or a, I don't know if you work with goddesses, or if there's a specific, like, female ascended master who you work with, but you've been calling forward an elevated, I don't like that word, give me a different word, a more expansive aspect of your spiritual art. Am I getting, I feel like I feel like, well, okay. So this is really, this card is just like giving me all the vibes right now. So there is a creative force moving through you. It feels extremely feminine. And I don't want to say, like, I know a few of the goddesses and ascended masters who are female, but the, like, it's not Kali, but it does feel very like a direct, it's a, hang on, I'm getting I'm getting a lot of sensations, so let me settle into this so I can get the words. It's like it's been inside of you for a long time, this fierce female, explosive, creative energy, and it is starting to really, like, gear up. It looks like a laser. It's gonna be a laser-focused creation that's going to burst forth from you, and it does feel like it is art-based. It feels like you've been on the cusp for such a long time that you're not even starting to recognize that it's coming out of the cocoon. So you've done your gestation period, you have done all of your inner work for the next phase, you have asked for all of the things, and it's now time for you to fall forward. Okay? Spirit's really calling here, though, that you fall forward in that free fall leap. So there has been a little bit of a tendency to wait for the next step to show up, but they just want you to start getting things out on paper, whether that's writing, painting, drawing, scribbling. It looks like it has to be something with color. It looks like it has to be something with your hands, even sculpting. It has to start coming out. You're going to notice that you kind of go into a little bit of a channeling or a meditative space when you start creating this new style of art. And it's going to surprise you a little bit because it's not going to be similar to what you have done before. It is that fine tuning that has been happening. Like the dial's been shifted, you've done the work, and now it's time to step into that lane. Whichever female guide you have been working with, continue aligning with that. Like set the intention that you're going to allow yourself to kind of um, flow into that same vibe, because there is almost, I almost see like a joining of forces there as you bring that spiritual energy into the physical world. And it just, I'm hearing like they're telling me to that a good affirmation for you would be, I'm safe to emerge, it's time to emerge, I'm held. So if you work with affirmations, I hope that that resonates with you. um okay. Andrea Terry, good. Tanya, yes, good. I see you there. That is interesting. Susan Gordon to Tanya R. Okay, Tanya, I'm going to do the psychic tarot for you. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody's comments. Oh, good. I'm glad that that makes sense for you, Terry. Oh, cool. They're telling me you have the tools. If you're talking about physical tools to do different things, that's one thing. But otherwise, like you have the tools to start now. And yes, you just use your meditation time to discern which of those female ones are important for you, because it's not Kali. Like they're showing me like it looks like a warrior. It's not an Eastern deity. It's not a Christian deity, but it's warrior like, but soft. Like I want to say green Terra ish, or white Terra. Is that something? I don't even know where those words are coming from. Okay. Woo, okay. Tanya, I just got your card. Ooh. So you got the truth card. So this one is coming forward for you because you're starting to see the truth. So I don't know if you were able to catch the beginning, but I was talking a lot about how those of us who have been seeking, emotional stability, spiritual connection, elevated intuition, or even an understanding of why we're here, what our purpose is, what we're supposed to be doing, that we're very sensitive to not only what's going on within us, but also what's going on around us. And it feels like there has been kind of an awakening for you of seeing things in a different way when it comes to your environment, the people in it, the places that you go, maybe even your job, that there's just a new level. It's like a veil has been lifted back, and you're like, holy moly, like, wow, there's a lot more here that I didn't notice before. Spirit wants to remind you that though you can see all of these truths and you're feeling overwhelmed about it, that you really only have to come into your own center with your own truth. That you're overwhelmed feeling, that one of the ways that you can settle yourself in it is to know that you can ask that you're only feeling your own stuff right now and not everything else that's going around you. Because the veil has been pulled back, you've just kind of gone up a level in your spiritual apartment building. So I've talked before, and I talk about this with people that are in my intuitive expansion group, that ultimately we if we think of ourselves like a condo building, We don't usually realize we're a condo building until we notice in our little house that we live in, where we've decorated it perfectly and we're totally familiar with all the surroundings and we've chosen every piece of art. And it's like our little internal home where we live. We suddenly realize that there are elevator doors over there that we never noticed before. And when we go over to the elevator doors and we look in the elevator, there are like infinite levels of floors that we can go to, and we didn't realize because we thought we were just this beautifully decorated house. So when we go to the first level, when we go to a new level inside of our own spiritual house, it's empty. It's not decorated. We're not familiar with the surroundings. We don't know what to put there yet. We don't even know what color. Sometimes we can't even see the whole shape of it right away, and it can be super anxiety. Like people experience anxiety when they get to these new levels, or they get more sensitive intuitively and start kind of picking up things from around them. So you're kind of in a new level of your building right now. And you're really being called to kind of go within a little bit more and keep your energy focused on yourself. This is not selfish to do this. Okay. Actually, when you start focusing your energy on yourself more, you unplug from all the things that are causing you to react. And it gives you space to kind of pause a little bit and recognize the differences between other people's stuff and your stuff. When you start being able to see your own stuff, your next level of stuff a little more clearly, you're able to begin decorating that floor of your new condo building. And as soon as you get comfortable, you're going to go up another level. But this is where they want you to kind of continue being okay with seeing the truth. It is not a bad thing to suddenly be able to see things in a different way. If you are, hey Cal, if you are feeling overwhelmed in that new awareness, again, just come back to your center. Remember that you only have to focus your energy inwards, that you only ultimately have to untie and recognize some of the things that you're ready to set down. What is scaring you about being in that new space? Why do you think you are reacting to people and situations the way that you are? Is there a layer of judgment there that you're holding externally, but really for yourself because you're not being patient on your own path because you feel like you should be further along? Or maybe, like I was mentioning earlier, you correct yourself in your own mind about how you should be, how you should react, etc., etc. When really it's all part of you coming into who you were meant to be and honoring every piece of who you are all at once so you can find the balance in that neutrality. Okay. Simple tools you can use here is literally just anytime you walk into the room, just say, what's theirs is theirs, what's mine is mine. I'm just going to hang out here. Okay. Just continue remembering to focus your energy back in on yourself. I hope that that made sense for you, Tanya. I also actually want to look up and see what that is in traditional tarot because this one uses its judgment. Interesting. And I did use the judgment term. Alrighty. Okay. Um, I think I've got everybody who was on the list who wanted a reading. I want to thank you all for joining me on my very first YouTube live, and for liking and subscribing and following along. Um, I'm always open to questions. I'm always open to sharing experiences, and I hope that you guys have the most beautiful Saturday ever. And soon it's going to be spring/autumn, depending on where you are. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.